Today we're joined with Dr. Elizabeth Reece, a pediatrician, and Jennifer Rubner, a certified pediatric nurse practitioner, both from our Banks and Danielsville offices. Together they'll be sharing valuable insights involving things with wheels. Stay tuned for our expert advice. So during the summer, we're talking about summer safety mostly. During the summer, you're gonna be outside, obviously. Some things that you might do outside: you might rollerblade, you might ride your bike, you might cut the grass, you might have a four-wheeler or an ATV, you might have a dirt bike. All of these things are fun to do, not even just in summer, even in the winter, some of these things. What are your best advice on safety for these various things?
Always wear a helmet. Yes. And not just any helmet that you grabbed that you thought was your brother's once. It needs to be a well-fitting helmet that's not been in an accident before, so you can't crash it and then still use the same helmet. You need a new one. But that helmet needs to fit your child well. Hand-me-downs are not great in terms for helmet. They're not safe. So you want a well-fitting helmet that's for your kid, age appropriate, every time, all the time, no exceptions. That's the rule. If you are riding on something that you can crash into anything, you're riding your bike, you can fall down on your roller skates, your dirt bike, ATV, you need to protect the most important part of your body, which is your brain. And so you need a helmet.
They recommend that it sits level on your head and covers your forehead. It's not tipped forward or backward, and 2 fingers fit between the chin and the chin strap. Make sure it's the right size for your child. And if you do have a question, you can bring it in and we can help you to make sure that it looks like it fits. But yeah, the same way that you don't want to buy a bike that's 2 sizes too big thinking that they're going to grow into it, you don't want to buy a helmet that's 2 sizes too big thinking that they'll grow into it.
I would say probably, I'm not a doctor or a provider, but if you have to buy a helmet a week later, I think it's safe to say that's okay.
That's okay. It's important to do. Yeah, and then really, some of the accidents can happen in your driveway or just on your sidewalk down the street. So unfortunately, it doesn't mean you had to take a very long, 3-mile bike ride to have an accident. So having it on all the time is really important.
Oh yeah, my property alone, my kid can tumble down any sort of number of hills on her bike, and her first instinct is not necessarily to put her hands out to catch herself. So helmet every time.
Now on ATVs, we really recommend that children under 16 should not drive ATVs. It's just having to be so aware of all the surroundings and what's going on around them that makes it something that an older child would be able to do. That not riding double when you're on an ATV. There's a much higher frequency of instability of the ATV and therefore accidents. And then making sure that they do wear helmets, eye protectors, closed shoes. How Jen was saying, Crocs aren't the best shoe for riding either, because it doesn't stay on if you happen to get in an accident and they're going to have more damage to their feet. Making sure you're using flags and reflectors and lights to make your ATV more visible so that you don't run into another ATV or into another person or nobody's in your path when you're driving.
And I think the big thing with ATVs and sometimes dirt bikes too is people think of them as purely recreational toys. And they're really a vehicle with a motor. And so you're putting a child in a vehicle with a motor, and it can be very dangerous, and we don't think of them as being very dangerous. But they are very dangerous. ATVs are very unstable, especially when they're going fast or on unstable terrain, and flipping an ATV is actually very, very dangerous in terms of injury for children. And so it's just not something that a lot of people think of as a dangerous item. They think of it more of a recreational toy, but we really should be thinking of a dirt bike and an ATV as a dangerous, it is a dangerous vehicle, and there should be supervision. There should be some teaching involved with even the teenagers that are riding them, on safety, on how to ride them properly, not to go too fast, what could cause crashes. There is a lot more injuries involving these, ATVs and dirt bikes than people really think that there are.
And really any wheeled vehicle, because sometimes even golf carts, you can get those to speed. If you're on an uneven terrain, it's easy to flip, and then when those land on kids, I've seen injuries that can occur with those as well. But yeah, it's just being aware and watching how they ride and not letting them use them sort of as, extension of, I'm going to go as fast and far as I can. That they sometimes try to outdo each other when they're all on riding them. So just being there and having them take care with the riding.
And if they are riding, if they're an older teenager and they're out riding, because I know, and where a lot of us live, they're out on open land or roads and stuff, let somebody know that you're out riding. Make sure that, if you're 16, 17, 18 years old, and I know that you feel very responsible, tell somebody that you're taking the ATV out and that you should be back around such and such time, so that if you're not, that they can come find you. And you're not just lying under an ATV with a tree and looking at the owl at you, waiting for someone to realize that you took the ATV out,
Another wheeled vehicle that you mentioned was lawnmowers. And the same way that we say with safety is just age-wise, just make sure if you're teaching your kids responsibility, which is great, and teaching them maybe how to mow the lawn, maybe they're going to earn some of their money from that. That's wonderful. Do have some some safety instruction, because again, it's got a motor and that gets hot, so that can cause burns, and then it's obviously got a blade that's cutting the grass that can be a big source of danger if we're not careful with that. So the recommendations are really, even from the safety instructions with the people that make the lawnmowers, is that no one under age 12 operates a walk-behind push mower, and that you'd be at least 16 years of age to operate a riding mower. If you're out mowing, we recommend that kids do not sit on your lap or as passengers. In a bumpy terrain, it's easy for a child to slip off, and if your weight is still on that in the blades engaged, if you cannot turn that on fast enough, obviously that can be a big hazard that could run over a small child. So encouraging them not to do that or to turn that on when you're not there, and in keeping them inside or a safe distance away from the mower, because I would think everyone maybe who's ever done a push mower or a riding mower has had the experience where you run over a rock or something that you didn't see and you hear that horrible sound, and it throws it out of out of where the blade is. And if that hits somebody when it's going out, that could be really dangerous to any smaller child as well.
Also, with small children, never assume that the person on the riding mower can hear that child. So they may be running up, daddy, mommy, whoever's doing the lawn, mowing the lawn, and that person on that lawnmower, they cannot hear that child running up to them. So keeping that safe distance is very important, because that person on that lawnmower has no idea they're even there. Mm-hmm. So if you're coming home and one of the parents is mowing the lawn, no, we'll go talk to them when they're done. When the mower's off, they can hear you, and go ahead and make an assumption that they cannot hear you or your child over the roar of that motor. And if it is an older kid, a 16, 17, 18-year-old that is doing the lawn or maybe doing someone else's lawn or getting paid, they need to be free of distractions. This is not the time to be multitasking, because once again, you never know when some little kid from down the street's going to run over, the dog that you didn't know got loose is going to run by. It once again, it is a very dangerous vehicle with a motor and a blade, and so you shouldn't be on your phone with your music and mowing a lawn. You need to be paying attention to the task at hand.
Thank you for tuning in to the MedLink Health Connections podcast. We hope you found today's episode informative and inspiring. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Remember, the information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not replace professional medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare provider for any medical concerns. Stay connected with us on social media and visit our website at medlinkga.org for more resources and updates. Until next time, stay healthy and take care.